Angela, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I would love to be there with you, of course.
Yeah, me too. Angela, how do you manage a family business in 2021?
Ah, how do I manage? Luckily, very luckily, we had a financial partner who entered like in 2018.
Okay, great.
So we're very fortunate. It was the right thing to do at the time, but seeing from the perspective now, it was absolutely, it's the best thing we could have done. We also took this year to reorganize. We hired a new CEO and during the full pandemic last year. But to do that with the help of a fund, of a financial partner, it's different.
For our audiences, it's important to know, like being Missoni, a classic brand, what are the challenges of today to keep it young, fresh after so many years?
Of course, but that's the challenge. That has always been the challenge, right?
Yeah.
This is for a fashion brand. Fashion mean what is fashion? Fashion is the moment, right? So fashion is what's happening now.
Yeah.
So and it's always been like that. So it was now 25 years ago when I started. It's been now during every moment. So, and what is now? You're always looking to youth. When I started, I looked at my generation. I looked at my daughter's generation. But then you always have the eye on youth, on what's happening, on what's fresh, and what makes you feel you want to do. And even if you are plus the age, how can I say, for my generation, I think it's been really the first generation where age, you're not defined by age. So it's, for me, it has always been a point of having a style.
Yeah.
Style has always been the most important thing. And the thing that Missoni had a specific style.
Yeah.
And also to work on clothes, yes, of course, fashion. So you have to have, you feel what you do. You don't put it down on, but you feel what is the moment and which are the right clothes you would like to wear, and those are the same clothes that my moms wear today. My moms wears the clothes that my daughters wear, right? So
exactly.
And often we call it just with me. She called me in the morning, said, what are you wearing? Can I put that? Because we might have pieces which are the same and we don't want to get out dressed the same way, right?
Yeah.
So even with my daughter, the same print or the same thing. Of course, we have different physicality. Physically, we're different. So, and this for me, it's always been a point in the collection to have pieces that would fit on different silhouette, on different bodies. For me, it has always been a challenge, which actually today it's what it's perfect for today, what it's need today.
Of course.
And so the fact of being transgenerational, it's always been my goal. I don't want to be dressed like a 90 years old
lady,
right? No, lady, unless it's my mom, because she's very cool.
She's
okay,
super.
maybe I can be. She can be the example today that you might want to look like her. Okay, but in fact, you want to. Every age, it's looking down. So you like to. You interpret to be. Your models are younger always.
Yeah,
very hard that your models are older. Okay, so it's normal to look at youth and to look at young, and so of course there are moments in which, and this has happened many times through my, let's say, career, that you find yourself in a position, you're doing a good thing, and then maybe the commercial side starts you to repeat certain thing, and then there is a moment where you say, hey, stop. Stop. Where am I going? Where are we going? If I still have something to say, I better say now. So many times, I might say maybe every 5 years, there's been a moment in which, hey, whoa, stop. Let's focus again on what we want to say and where we want to be and which is the client that we're looking for. And generation are coming, and so we are looking down, of course, without forgetting your client and without forgetting all the ages. I always remember when I started 25 years ago, more or less, a friend, a lady, friend of my father, same age of my father, she would be 100 today, right? So at the time she was 75. And she was a Missoni buyer since she was wearing Missoni since the 70s. And then one day she called me after I started and she said, thank you, because I finally feel fresh and modern and up to date again. She still wanted to wear the new Missoni, right? She wanted to wear fresh Missoni. This for me has been one of the biggest compliments. It's not only that I want to dress a girl of 20, I want to dress a woman of every age and make her feel comfortable and fresh and modern, right?
And I think you have made a great job doing that, because a lot of people think that if you always stick to something, like you stick to the zigzag knit, you couldn't do anything else. But you have done a lot of things differently with the Missoni classic zigzag, but also you've made clothes that it's super wearable. And I think that is super important. And also you've made the fashion industry different. Like, you've always looked to the future. Like you said, you go to younger audiences. How do you make it relevant today for them to understand it? Like with the campaign, or?
Of course, you need to speak the language, right? So this is something I'm saying already since 10 years. You always need to speak the language to explain you need to have the right words. So in fact, it's a while that I'm having fight. I know that maybe our social are not perfectly, they don't have the right fit at the moment. They might not have the right tone of voice, but we are getting there. We are working on that because we know this is a priority. But I hope that soon we'll get there also with that, because yes, sometimes then you need organization, right? So you need a lot of elements. But luckily we are pushing on that to better, because it got a bit like slow. And yes, but still you need a campaign. You need image, right? So you always will need images. What does it mean today to have a campaign? It's a different thing, because you need to have projects, you need to have a lot of images anyway, because but if you have to do a poster, it's a big thing and it needs to stay for a long time. So it might need to have a bigger, more deep thought, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So because for sure, when you have a budget and you have to divide it and you have to produce a lot of images, you might not have always the same level of quality, but it's a different thing. It's like if you have a voice and you're talking about these different things, and you can work in different ways today. You can have, but it needs to be done with the language, the right language.
And you've been doing a lot of your campaigns now are also like short films in video. This is the way you're doing it, right? Like to get to younger audiences and to do it in a pandemic where you have to express 1 millions of kilometers.
Yeah, but this is in a way, we were before the pandemic, we were seeing this happening, because fashion shows already, this was my point since few years. What is a fashion show? Who are we? Who's watching a fashion show? How is it only for the 900 people which are sit there? No, definitely not, because it was already since the social media came in the game.
Yeah.
collection were out a second after, right? So whatever you were putting on a catwalk, you had to thought already how it's going to be perceived outside immediately. And then many thinking, is it right? Is it wrong? Is it the right thing? Should you would like to direct everything at this point, right?
Of course.
In a way. So maybe, okay, maybe I do a video instead of doing it. But then it's a job made of many, it's like a puzzle, right?
Yeah.
So in fact, you've been to shows, right? So you know there is something that happened in that show, but it does happen only for the people which are sit there,
Yeah.
who really can get the atmosphere, who can get the feeling, and then you journalists or buyers are the ones supposed to transmit that message outside, right?
Yeah.
So but when the message goes out immediately, so also for you, it all changed also for your job.
Of
I
course.
think for you, for the magazine, it's totally different approach. Because usually, and something that I always appreciated a lot, because you do a show, you do a collection with a vision, with a show, you made looks basically, but then what I loved also, it was to see like stylists to reinterpret your looks. This was really a lot inspirational
Yeah.
for the designer too.
Of course. Of course.
But it's something that it's going to be more harder and harder to happen, right?
Yeah. Every year is harder.
It's harder because everybody wants to impose its own, especially for maybe the big groups, they want to impose their own image. They want to be precise. They want to have the vision. Plus, it costs. The cost you have also, the cost we have on production, cost we have in production, cost you have in production. It's all, I don't know exactly. So, of course, I always thought already, and I was saying that like 3 years ago to a friend who was a editor-in-chief of an important, very important magazine. And we were starting to have this conversation, and I started to say, you need to become producer of content for the designers. You need to put the skill also at the service, and this is another job that you can put. You're selling less copies, but use your skills to produce content to go.
For you, of course. Yeah.
Yes. For us, and this I could see that this is something that it's happening, in fact.
Yeah. Do you wish that when you started there had been tools like the ones we have before, like social media or e-commerce, or it's better, or you prefer the way it was before?
I know, I cannot say better now, better before. Before it was like before, and now it's like that. So I cannot say there was a better thing. Now it's like that. So it's interesting, very interesting, but it's how it is. Like, but it's not now. We know this was coming. We knew this was happening, right? And maybe, of course, the pandemic accelerated a lot of things. But you had to have your own channel to sell clothes online.
Of course.
That you couldn't miss that, right? So already since 10 years. So when you started buying things, I don't know when was that? 10 years ago, you started buying things on the internet that you realized you could buy at whatever time during day, night, and wherever you were living, right?
Yeah.
And then you could distribute your clothes. I had a lot of maybe customers from south of Spain, or they didn't have the shop easy there, right? So when they traveled, they would buy clothes. So for them, it was the easier way. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. It makes it to make clothes accessible.
What do you think about the physical boutiques, like the stores? Are they are they gonna still being the thing they have been always, or they're gonna be more like a museum?
I think that there will still be, especially after a pandemic. Yeah, I want to go out, and I want to go out and see shops, right?
Yeah, me too.
I want to go out and really
Yeah,
touch and get the feeling. And of course, the atmosphere you can get in a shop, and the way the treatment you can have in a shop, and it's a different thing from buying online.
yeah, it will never be the same. I love to touch.
So I do think that the two things will stay. Maybe a bit less shop. Maybe don't need anymore that many, but still the experience of having been in that shop, it's still going to be like the experience that we remember when a special shop opened in New York from a designer, or in LA, that everybody was talking about that shop. You wanted to go and see the architecture, you want to see the decoration, and you want to see the product. It's always about the atmosphere. It's about the complete look, the complete, you can speak your voice, you can write your book there, right? So it's a different thing.
Yeah,
So, but then you need the two things. So I'm very happy also for what we can do now. You can buy online, but go get it at the boutique also. So the two things are moving very close, right? So
it's similar to what you said about the fashion shows. You have the fashion show, and people that it's there feels different than the people that see it
exactly.
on Instagram. Yeah, and the way that the people in the show interprets the show, it's different than the people out there in Instagram or Facebook or whatever other social media. No,
it's like going to watch a movie at the theater and then watch a movie on your phone.
Yeah,
there's no
it's not the same at all.
It's also not the same at all.
What is the importance of collaborations in the fashion industry, like the one you did years ago with Target, for example?
Oh, very important. This collaboration gave to the name. Plus, I don't think it's a problem to do when things are well done.
Yeah.
And the communication is well done, and to make your product accessible, it's a good thing. You have the frame, the time, and it created such a big buzz around the name. But I remember it was so funny because I don't think there was already Instagram, no? There was like a Twitter.
I don't think there was.
I remember Twitter, people saying, am I the only one who doesn't know who's Missoni in this town?
and then you were known everywhere.
Exactly. But then collab, I always believe in collab. Like when I did the first one with Converse, we did few years with Converse, and it immediately gave you a point of view. It's not your collection. It doesn't mean you have to show that collaboration with exactly your clothes that day, but those are capsule. And there are so many products that you can interpret, and so many cool labels that you are wearing yourself, maybe, and you would like to. And then through the year, we've been asked by everybody. I would have loved to do even more than what we did. I remember when I went to look for Havaianas, we did a collab with Havaianas, and because that if I'm wearing only Havaianas, like this was 10 years ago, why can I have them the way I want, right? So why can't they be dressed Missoni way? And then no, but then we did many. We did with Adidas, we did collab, we did for jeans, we did many through the years.
How do you work with the heritage that Missoni has? Do you go to the archives a lot, or how do you get inspired by the heritage of your own brand?
No, actually, I think that what made me probably successful in what I did through those years it was the fact that I always felt very free in working on my mood boards and on new things, on new visions. And then my mind was clicking on links to Missoni. And I was at that point, I was asking things to the archives, but exactly, precisely that piece, and that piece. So telling them the year, the number, because I have a visual memory, precise visual memory since my early youth, really, of every single detail.
Yeah, I remember that the last time you came to Mexico and we talked, you were telling me that a dinner you had the day before, it was so, you knew which girl was wearing which piece. You were like, yeah, that's from 1975. That's from 1995 or whatever.
Yeah, but I can tell you, oh, but this was from 1965.
Yeah.
But I realized later, I didn't know, but what I know today is that I'm a very curious person, and I was a curious child and an observer. I've always been observing and retain. So I remember detail like hair, makeup, shoes for all my youth. So the old Missoni archives are in my mind. Yeah, but then as I always considered my parents like how do you say, revolutionary and free in their invention. So I allowed myself of being free and including in Missoni everything I thought it could have been Missoni for the moment that it was now. So
also I remember that you like to find new things and buy old things from flea markets and stuff. What is the way for you to mix old objects with new objects, and do you believe this mix is fundamental to start a business brand?
You know, when you say old and new and what happened, I think fashion has always been inspired by what happened before in the evolution, but there's always been an inspiration at the time before. Like my mom in the 70s, she was really inspired by the 40s and even the 20s, or so she had her inspiration in the past. But then something happened after year 2000, because you can define every decade in the past century with a silhouette, right? You can sketch a silhouette for a decade in the past century, but you cannot sketch a precise silhouette for, oh yes, perfectly. This is 2010.
No, totally not.
No.
Yeah, I never thought about it.
This is 2020. Okay, maybe 2020 and the pandemic.
Yeah.
Yes, you can start designing you jogging things or wearing in a special way. Okay, what we have sneakers, but sneaker worn with many different things, not a precise look. You cannot design a silhouette. So in a way, there is a lot more freedom from fashion.
I love that you made this point, because really fashion since 2000 it hasn't been like precise, like you said before. I never thought about it. Thank you.
But and you know exactly that you got everything you need already in your wardrobe.
Yeah.
To get a new look.
What do you think is the purpose of fashion right now after this thing that we all lived? It's a global thing.
Fashion is always the same. Fashion is there because the purpose is always the one. First of all, we cover ourselves, right? Okay, so we need clothes. Okay, especially for us that we live in hard winter, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So of course you need clothes, and then and that's the human nature to distinguish itself. Everyone wants to distinguish itself. You speak through your clothes. It's part of you. How do you say, you pull out your personality through. It's a way of talking. It's a way of expressing yourself. And also it's a way of feeling good with yourself, because you're not always dressing for others. You often dress for yourself with many different purposes, not only because you want to feel comfortable, but just because it helps your mood.
You always focused on campaigns. We talked about campaigns already, but you always focused on the campaigns when you started at Missoni, and you wanted people relevant to shoot the campaign and people relevant to be in the campaign. What do you think you have to do now to get to new audiences?
Wait a minute. I took people that were not that relevant and became relevant after.
Exactly. So they weren't relevant, but you made them.
Not me, I made them because they made them themselves. But the fact of being a talent scout, that would basically I've been through the year, right? Also because my label has always been as a small label, and so I had to go for young. But plus, that was my generation. I looked for my generation. Of course, I couldn't, as a company, we couldn't afford to go with the bigger name, so I had to be a talent scout and scout. So I'm happy of my campaign when I started that I used Tiziano Magni at the beginning, and then Mario Testino, the famous campaign with Mario Testino in the desert. And this was actually a couple of seasons before, or 3 seasons before I became then officially creative director, but I was already working on the campaigns.
If you don't have, like, as a new brand or as a brand that is not that big, you have to look for special people that it's very good, but maybe it's young and they are not.
But that are good with you, yes, that you have the feeling, yes.
Yeah.
Then I had got Matt and Marcus. Matt and Marcus did their first campaign with me. So you have to go with people that speak your own language, first of all. And because it's also what you want to say. You want to use their voice, basically. It's like if you're using their eyes and their voice to say your words. So you need to be to have a good alchemy. Never choose a photographer only for the image. Yes, okay, of course, but then you have to get together because you're working together. Because you are building together, you're working together. And this has been for all the photographer after. And I like the fact that I work with many also are very artistic photographer through the years. Do
you think the way you present the collections is going to change after the pandemic, or has been changing since the pandemic?
2 moments where they present the collection. The first moment, which is called the main, also the name. Think about the name. What used to be pre-collection, today it's main. Only the name tells you everything, right? So you sell to of course we are talking about selling at the trade, right? So we are selling to the trade. 70%, 75% of the seasonal budget on the main collection.
Wow.
Okay, and this is for other, it might be even bigger. Okay, and then you sell 25, 30 with the pieces related to the show.
Wow.
Okay, so you got those 2 moments, and already it's something like you tell me. But then we have to think, is it okay that I show summer in September when it's still summer? And I show you next summer when you have to buy winter? This is something that struggled my mind since years now, since the show became, since social media, since shows became available to the final public. It's not the problem for me that the final public see things before. It's not that, but I think this is something that confuses also. I want to push winter now with my customer.
Of course.
We are in winter. I would like to push winter.
Yeah.
So that's what I tried to do last September, right? Saying, no, I'm not going to show spring. I'm showing now. This is what I'm selling now. The role of a show, it's a different thing, which means still a show has a sense because it creates an atmosphere, an aura around that collection, which is very inspirational. But it has nothing to do with the purpose of the show till 15 years ago.
Of course. Yeah, totally. Thank you so much, Angela, for being so great, always answering our questions and always wanted to talk to us. For our audience, this will be priceless. Thank you so much.
I'm very pleased that I wish I can come back to your beautiful country very soon.
Please let me know when you come back and we'll see each other.
I will. Thank you so much. Thank you, Claudia.